هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن
عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Walaikum Assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Dear viewers, we have with us the brother Taariq, who will speak to us about his conversion to Islam and about the state of Islam in the prison system in the United States of America.
Alhamdulillah, I embraced Islam 7 years ago while in prison, while serving a 30-year prison sentence. MashaAllah, it wasn't something that I planned or it wasn't something that was on my mind as far as converting to Islam or embracing a realm of spirituality. Islam in prison is a lot different than it is in society now that I've been released from prison. I've been out, mashallah, for like 9 months. And I first want to talk about what I thought or what my views were of Islam before I embraced Islam. Normally we often hear the theme of Malcolm X and how, that's what we knew about Islam, what was published in the movies or what was published in the media, and that was the extent of my Islamic knowledge before I embraced Islam and before I became interested in Islam. But having said that, I also came in contact with Islam as far as what I was seeing in the media, and I didn't understand the difference between the Shiite and the Sunni and the different groups of Islam at first. And actually, when I started to study Islam, that was, in a way, it was a deterrence from my studies in Islam, because I seen a video about the Shiite and it was very disturbing. And I was like, man, if that's Islam, I don't want to have nothing to do with cutting my forehead open. And but nevertheless, I was very interested in finding some type of spiritual realm to involve myself in while I was in prison. Not to pass my time or not to make my time easier, but it was something that I really wanted to do. It was something that I really felt as though it was time to do. I was at that point in my life where I had a decision to make, and I've always believed in the oneness of Allah. I've always believed in monotheism. I never embraced the concept of the Trinity. I never embraced the concept of Allah being incarnated in human beings. I never really believed in those concepts, but nevertheless I did give Christianity and other religions the benefit of the doubt, and I involved them in my studies. I involved them in my seeking of the knowledge, of the true knowledge. And during my seeking of knowledge, I ran into a brother of mine. Actually, I knew him before the event of me being incarcerated, and he had embraced Islam. He had embraced the Nation of Islam, and actually his knowledge of the Nation of Islam was very limited. So I gave him the benefit of the doubt also, because I was interested in the things in which he was telling me. And he gave me, which we know is the very famous book in the Nation of Islam, the Message to the Black Man in America, to read. And to be honest with you, the first couple of chapters were very interesting. It had me, and it had my attention, to say the least. Until I got to the parts where they would talk about Farah Muhammad being Allah incarnated, and about Farah Muhammad being Allah on earth. And I was like, man, these are the same ideologies that I read about in the other religions. It's the same thing. It just has another face. And I approached him and I told him that this was something I definitely didn't agree with. And actually he wasn't aware, because he was young in the Nation of Islam, and he wasn't aware that was the concept of the Nation of Islam, that they believed that this guy, Farah Muhammad, was Allah incarnated. And so, mashallah, he embraced al-Islam also. But that was just the beginning stages of my understanding and coming in contact with Islam. After that, I met a guy. His name was Juan Mars. Mashallah, he's a Cuban. He's from Cuba, but he's serving a life sentence in prison right now. And he was the imam at the institution in which I was serving time at that particular moment. And we became friends. We would work out together. And I didn't know it then, but he was giving me dawah. I didn't realize it, but he would throw little things down and we would have conversations, and he never really mentioned Islam. But as I look back on it now, he was giving me dawah in his own particular way, which mashallah was really good. But nevertheless, I started to go to Jumu'ah, and I started to go to the Taaleem services. Not having embraced Islam, just interested in wanting to learn more. And after having seen the Muslims in prison, the level of discipline, the level of unity, you know, how they hung out together, how they would, you know, participate together, how they would go to the chow hall and eat together, and how they would form basketball teams together, how they would form soccer teams together. And the level of discipline and the level of unity that I seen with the Muslims in prison was something that also drew me closer to them. And also, you know, my curiosity built based on that, because that's something that I like, that's something that I desire, you know. And they set themselves apart from the mainstream quote-unquote inmate. And not only did we see it as inmates, but the officers and the guards, they also seen it because they gave them a level of respect that they didn't give every inmate. You know, they gave them a level of attention that they didn't give every inmate. And that was something that I also viewed and I also was drawn to before I actually embraced Islam. I embraced Islam, it was spontaneous. I was at Jumu'ah, and the khutbah was a very beautiful khutbah. Of course it was about Tawheed, because that's all the Imam he would talk about was the Tawheed. And after Jumu'ah was over with, I called him over to where I was at, because of course they wouldn't let me perform the salat or anything, but I called him over to where I was at. And it wasn't something that was planned, I didn't even know what I was going to say, but when he came to me, I told him that I wanted to take my shahada, mashallah. And I took my shahada, and from that day on, it's been an uphill battle, but mashallah, things are getting a little easier now. I'm on this side of the gates, and inshallah we'll be talking about what it's like to be a Muslim on the inside, but as far as the questions that so often arise with the Muslims on the inside, the concerns that so often arise with the Muslims on the inside, with the lack of communication with those Muslims on the outside, with the lack of support from the Muslims on the outside, and what it's like now is being a Muslim on the outside, and how it is and how it feels. And the first salat that I made on the outside in the masjid, the first time that I've ever seen a masjid, I was released 4 days before the month of Ramadan, mashallah, being able to experience the fast on the outside, it's different, you know. It's really different, and it's really a blessing that Allah has allowed me to experience Islam on the inside and be able to talk about what it's like on the outside as well. So inshallah, as we further and we get into this, if you are interested in learning more or viewing more of this audio and my experiences on the inside as a Muslim, and my experiences on the inside trying to establish some type of communication, some type of line of communication with the Muslims on the outside, as well as my being a Muslim on the outside, you can contact www.athaar.org/audio. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.